Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today I'm super excited to have the co-founder of Atlantic Boylesque, my friend Oliver Twisted. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, so first, what is Atlantic Burlesque?
You start off with a tough question. This is something that we've been struggling to define. And I know it's not the best approach to define something by what it is not.
Oh, right.
But that's kind of like the situation that we're in, wherein Atlantic Boylesque is a troupe of burlesque performers that would not fit into your traditional definition of what you would think of when you think of a burlesque performer. So there are a lot of masculine type folks. There's non-binary folks in the group. So it's just not your typical very femme, presenting type of performer.
And why did you decide to find it?
Well, I first started off as a burlesque performer, performing with other established troupes that were dominated by women, and I felt quite uncomfortable in the green room.
Oh, right.
Because it's just, I'm a middle-aged cis white guy that it's just not like in the green room where people are getting changed and there's a lot of nakedness. I could just sense a kind of unease, particularly because I hadn't met a lot of those people that I was performing with that evening. And I thought to myself that I wanted to create a space in which people that don't normally fall into those roles can explore creativity and beauty and performance of burlesque in a non-heteronormative and a non-toxic masculinity type of environment. Because other groups that you might see of that their performance is taking their clothes off as men, it's very like Magic Mike, very muscle bound, and dressing up as the firemen or whatever, the police officers and the cowboys, and even though that's a lot of fun and that can be done, we also wanted to create a space wherein people could put on a lot of glitter and rhinestones and heels and explore what it is to be the kind of folks that we are, and exploring the art of burlesque.
How did you get into burlesque?
Well, I was very much into theater as a kid in high school. I loved that a lot. And then I did some podcasting stuff and live shows with a former partner of mine. And I very much enjoyed being on the stage. And then I love making costumes. So I was going out to costume parties and developing all these wild costumes. And then, spending quite a lot of time. If you ask anybody in my troupe, I'm very intense when it comes to props. So I'll spend weeks and weeks and weeks developing a costume, and then I'll wear it out to a rave for a few hours, and then it's over, and then it's like, well, what do I do with this costume now? And so I wanted to show off those costumes, but then I just love burlesque because you can. I'm an 80s kid, so I grew up with much music in that MTV era, and waiting to watch your favorite artists perform their little story during their 5-minute song, their 3-minute song. And I adored that so much. So I wanted to have the opportunity to kind of like tell a story within a song with those costumes I was developing. And I had some friends involved in burlesque, so I was invited to go and perform. So shout out to Lady Corbeau, amazing burlesque performer here in the city, but also performing all over the place now. They're really foundational to our community here in Halifax. And I was asked to be part of one of their shows, and I got hooked.
How long ago was this, the first show?
I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
But for Atlantic Boylesque, our first show was May of 2022.
Right. Just kind of like things are settling after the pandemic and stuff. Like, so what was our first show? Do you remember like the first Atlantic Boylesque show? Like, how was it getting it together, setting it up?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was hard. So I had a co-founder that was part of the group at the time. They've since moved on to Toronto, and they're doing great things in Toronto now. And they went by the name of Danger Horse. So we were both men performing in a women-led, and the origins of burlesque are very much founded by women. And so all of the creative aspects of it, the whole history of it, is all about women. And so we were kind of like trying to find our place in the city. And so we got together, had a beer, and talked about it. We first started talking about doing a show pre-pandemic. Pandemic hit, and we really wanted to do our first show at Men's and Molly's. But Men's and Molly's was one of those businesses that we lost to the pandemic as well. But that's where a lot of us found our roots, or where we first started performing. Then, pandemic. Once it was kind of petering out, we booked a date at the Bus Stop Theatre and did like a public call out for performers. Yeah. And so there were other people that were performing already. There were some excellent drag performers that wanted to get on board. And then we started reaching out to individuals that we thought would find a home in burlesque. So we heard from somebody that was a pole dancer, and they're so amazing and very integral to us and our image. That's Tyson. And then we started getting like dancers. We got a magician. Oh. So we have like very unique performers that blend their strengths into burlesque. Yeah, I'd never seen like a magician doing burlesque simultaneously.
I was like, this is almost like a circus.
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah.
So the name is unique. How did you come up with it?
There is a very successful and long-running troupe that we admire that performs in Toronto. They go by the name of Boylesque TO.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't much east of Toronto, and that applies for like a lot of things. But we wanted to, when we first started, we were thinking big. And we're only kind of getting to that big stage now, where big stage, pun intended, but we're like visiting other cities. Right. So we wanted to kind of like pull in talent from throughout the Atlantic provinces and travel around. And then when we do go to places like Toronto, Montreal, people know what they're going to see. They're seeing a bunch of people from the Atlantic provinces, and there's a particular type of draw to it.
There is, though. So, I mean, you put out this call. How do you, people answer, but how do you decide who joins the troupe?
Yeah, good questions. So our troupe is a very closely knit group of individuals. There's a lot of love there. There's a lot of friendship. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of vulnerability in what we do. Obviously, getting naked in front of a big audience of people requires a lot of support from colleagues in the troupe. And over the past couple of years, we've really built strong friendships. And so that's number one criteria is how is this new person going to get along with the group?
Oh, yes.
Age doesn't apply, obviously over 19. Body
Wait,
type doesn't
19?
matter.
Why not 18, 19?
To be honest, I don't know when it's legal to take your clothes off for audiences. We haven't had any applications from people under 20.
Okay.
But we do perform in clubs.
Oh, so you have to be a certain age. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we don't want to be booking a show early because all minors have to be out of the facility by 9 p.m.
Right.
And they have to have food in front of them at all times. So you have to incorporate a plate of fries into their routine.
Okay. So you, I guess, do they have to audition or?
We've gone about it in different ways. We just recently held some auditions and welcomed a new performer into the troupe. They did a fantastic job both with their audition and their first performance at our last show, which was Love Sucks. It was a Valentine's Day themed show. Oh. And we kind of each Valentine's Day, we kind of put a spin on love and look at the darker sides of Valentine's. So this year was Love Sucks, and so we kind of leaned into the hurt and the drama. And last year we did a Greek themed one that was more focused on vengeance and jealousy and revenge and things like that. But yeah, this performer that's now part of our troupe, Big Daddy Red. He answered the call for auditions and he did great.
Okay, so I guess auditions, they are part of the troupe. When you plan, say the Love Sucks thing, does each individual do their thing and you have to find a way to make it work, or do you have to plan the entire thing?
We plan quite a big show. People that have come to see our shows know that they're getting something different. For every show, we start off with a choreographed group number.
Oh.
And then then we have different routines after that. And most of the time it's a single individual, but sometimes we've had paired performances where people are performing together. And we have an amazing host, Kristen Green, hilarious stand-up comedian, very talented actress, producer, amazing individual. And she's always part of the planning process. We also have kittens that clean up the stage after we've removed all of our clothes.
You have little kittens.
Well, we call them stage kittens.
Right.
Yeah. And they're not always stage kittens. We call them stage kittens. That's what the industry calls them. But sometimes they're sexy nuns, or they always plan something special
for each show.
Yeah. So we have two very strong permanent stage kittens that are part of the troupe, Honey Beaver and Miss Shapen. Miss Shapen is known throughout Canada she won an award for being the best stage kitten in Canada. So we're so fortunate to have her help.
What does stage kitten do? What is the job of a stage kitten? It seems like it's a specific thing they have to do.
Yeah. So when we performers come out and remove all of our clothing and do all the crazy stuff that we do, sometimes we make a mess. Sometimes someone will take a blood bath and there will be blood everywhere. Sometimes people will pretend to vomit or whatever, make a big mess on the stage. plus all the clothing that they removed and all the props. But when you're all done and you're standing there with the lights hitting you in front of an audience of 100 or so people, sweat dripping, and you've got your junk in your hands or whatever, you want to get off the stage.
Right.
So we skedaddle and leave a big mess, and our kittens help us out, and they come clean up the stage. But they also keep us in line backstage. They keep things very well organized. They also make sure that we get all of our props when we need them. So they're kind of like a combination of like backstage producers and stage coordinators and techs and then also cleanup crew.
They make it all work.
They work super hard.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so with, I guess, you started this because you were like, okay, I was kind of like in a burlesque thing, and I was, people were feeling uncomfortable, whatever. What if now, like, a femme identifying person is like, I love you guys, I want to join your troupe, or I want to audition, whatever, like, would they be allowed in, or?
So we do regularly have guest performers.
Okay.
And we often will bring in femme performers. I mean, we have permanent femme performers in our group.
Okay.
That identify as men.
Right.
But we will like make a place because we want to, I first had my opportunity in burlesque because I was welcome to perform with like a femme-oriented troupe. So we want to like return that kind of thing. We don't want to have closed doors, but we do feel like it's important to maintain a kind of identity. If we just open up the doors completely, then
it's not what it is.
It will no longer be Atlantic Boylesque.
Yeah.
But we have drag performers and we have very like traditional style femme burlesque performers. And it's really hard. Again, people will apply and want to be part of the troupe. But then, we have to say like, again, we're defining ourselves by what we are not. And it's not nice to have closed door policies. But again, we still want some of those new performers that have joined us to feel comfortable backstage in a thong, feeling like they're not we don't want any sticky situations. I mean, sticky situations happen all the time backstage. I'm talking about fake blood.
Right. Okay. So, so basically, we are this, we are not that. This is what Atlantic Boylesque is kind of thing, and we have to keep that identity type thing.
Yeah, something like that. We like I said, when we first started off, we wanted to create a space in which individuals that don't fit into that traditional definition of a burlesque performer, we wanted to create a space for them to explore this creative performance style in a non-toxic masculine way.
Nice.
So we're like a bunch of people that wouldn't normally feel comfortable eating chicken wings and watching football with the boys. We do the boy thing differently.
Right. So, okay, so now, like, between, I guess, how long do you need to prepare between events, right? You have one show, say the Valentine's Day show. How much time do you need to prep before the next show? Do you is it like a constantly revolving?
It's pretty constant.
Oh.
The original goal, and I think we're still learning, but the comfort place is between like a show every 2 or 3 months. I think the troupe would often favor 3 months, but we also don't want to, we want to remain in people's minds. and we want to stay active and have new content on social media so that we do continue to sell out every show. But yeah, there's been learning challenges. Like most recently, we had a show for Halloween, and then there was a second venue that opened up, the beautiful Sanctuary Arts Theatre over in Dartmouth, and I had an opportunity to book a show there as well. So we did back-to-back Halloween shows.
Holy shit.
With different performances and different group numbers. So everybody did 2 different group numbers and 2 different performances in the same weekend. And we nearly, we were so tired after that.
I can't even imagine it.
And then we had a Christmas show booked a month later. You don't normally think about Christmas and Halloween being so close together.
Yeah,
but it's it's practically November, and then it's just like boom, and then we had them our Christmas show December 2nd because people go away and people get busy and spend all their money in December, so we wanted to catch them at the beginning. So there we were on November 1st, and it's like, okay, we have a show in a month, and the troupe was like, no. And I cleared it with them in advance. So I was like, are you sure this is a good idea? And they're like, yeah, let's do it all. But then, and I agreed. Like we were burnt out. So yeah, maybe 3 shows in a month is not a good idea. So yeah, we aim for every 2 or 3 months.
So talking about, the Bonnie Islands, what are some of the work that goes into, what are some of the prep you have to do before a show and on the day of the show?
So we have our group choreograph numbers. So we, depending upon the complexity of the choreography and the costumes, we have to start meeting up 2 months to a month beforehand. And again, depending upon the complexity, we have to meet once or twice per week.
Oh my God.
Getting close to the show, maybe 3. And it depends on the number. Sometimes those numbers involve groups of 2 or 3 people coming out and then doing a part of the choreography. So then those groups of people can meet separately from the larger group. But otherwise we have to book a dance studio and have all 12 of us in the same place at the same time, doing all the choreography. The last show we hired an amazing choreographer, Rachel Kelly from House of Eights, to do our choreography for us. So that saved a lot of time for us, but it was a more complex choreography, so we had a lot of practicing time. And it was a dance style that not a lot of us were accustomed to. So it was a contemporary dance type of slow moving type of thing. So yeah.
I watch a lot of So You Think You Can Dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of us think we can dance.
Okay.
And then we all have our separate numbers that we have to do as well. And if you have a plan, you can have a very simplistic idea with a complex story, or something that just hits and it's just funny or sexy and with very little effort put into it. I'm going to come back to Lady Corbeau. I saw a performance of hers recently where she was putting on sunblock at the beach. That was the routine. And it just kept putting on loads and loads and loads of sunblock. And it was so funny and so entertaining, but it required very little prep ahead of time, right? To just kind of milk that gag for the entire thing. And it hit so well. But, people like me that really lean into the prop development, I'll spend 2 or 3 months making the props.
Yeah, talk me through this guy. I saw this, oh my God. It looks like a lot of work.
Yeah. I'm ridiculous. So this is a fly head that I made. And I did a whole fly number. I started off with the Human Fly by The Cramps. Like that. And I had a whole set of wings and stuff.
Holy shit.
And I danced to Human Fly, and then I pulled out a plate of dog poo. But it was
fly.
actually,
So,
yeah, and had like a little audio of an explanation of how you need to be careful around houseflies in your food because they're spreading contaminants. And so I had a plate of dog poo. It wasn't actual dog poo, it was chocolate mousse. And then I puked onto it because the flies, they regurgitate onto their food. And they put enzymes that then digest the food
how they
outside
can
of their
eat it.
bodies, and then they slurp it through things like
That's
this.
true.
So I puked onto the dog poo and then ate it and then rubbed it all over myself.
What happened to the wings, though?
The wings came off.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and I ended up just in like a little
How
thong.
long did it take to make the fly head?
I don't know. I was working on like 3 other outfits at the time. So I think I was working on this for like a couple months, I think.
Holy shit.
But I was concurrently also making an anglerfish costume.
Oh, wow.
So I made this massive anglerfish costume that was like this big. And it was painted with UV light. And that was for the Love Sucks show. So I took that quite literally and looked at how adult female anglerfish live in the deep sea, and male anglerfish, they're very small and they attach to the female anglerfish and they incorporate all of their biology. They fuse into the body of the female.
Oh.
And then they just become like a sperm producing organ.
That's so much research, man. That's like you're watching Nat Geo just to like, holy shit. And I mean, how do you like choose the music? Human Flag, okay, cool. But like, is there like a science or arts to picking the songs you dance to?
Yeah, I mean
perform
that's one of our strengths as well as a troupe. We all have different tastes in music, and that really comes out during the show. It's not all like pop songs, it's not all rock. We have some individuals that are really into like upbeat kind of techno music. And I really lean in. I've been, over the past year or so, I've really been leaning into the darkness. So I've done like, I do like 9 Inch Nails and Ministry, Jesus Lizard. It's kind of like industrial music, and that, the punk number with this guy was the Cramps, and then that led into an old Stooges song by Depeche Mode.
Wow.
And Radiohead. So I think I start with the music, and then I build from there. And it's been interesting. I speak with troupe members, and one of our performers starts with the shoes. And I had no idea that was their creative process.
What?
But they're like, okay, what shoes do I want to wear for my next performance? And then they kind of like build things around that.
Huh.
So we all have a different process.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's 2 years now. How's it been? And I mean, it's one thing like you enjoy doing it, it's fun, but it is time. So like how is the financial part of it? Because like you gotta like put money into it somehow. It's gotta bring some money out somehow, right?
Yeah. Have you interviewed any other burlesque performers?
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, it's a funny question because I think that there's something strange about all of us.
Okay.
It's not about the money.
No.
It's great when we can make a profit, but it's not paying our rent,
Right.
for sure. No one's doing it full time. Everybody has something else that they do. And I saw a meme recently about partners of burlesque performers and everything that they put up with.
Oh, okay.
Spending way too much money on a costume, and then there's like scraps of costume all over the apartment all the time. And then like you have to give up weekends because they're like practicing and performing and doing ridiculous things on stage. So like we all have different motivations for doing it. But I don't think anybody's doing it for the money.
For the money, okay.
I think that within the troupe and the people that I've interacted with, we're very happy when we can pay for all of the things that we've prepared, like all the costume stuff and driving back and forth to the rehearsals and all that. But we do tend to make like a pretty good profit, each of us. Within our troupe, we split everything equally.
Oh.
So
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a very interesting approach.
it doesn't work out like super great for me because I do like all the social media. And that takes like a lot, like every day, like putting a post and writing a caption and all that stuff. But then doing like artistic design and the liaising with the venues, and then like sometimes I'll write a script for a show. But everybody pitches in. Day of, everybody's on it. They're pitching in. Like I said, Kristen always helps with a lot of planning for the show. Our upcoming show on June 2nd, it's Be Kind Grind. So it's kind of like Be Kind and Rewind. It's
The film.
the film, yeah. So we're like remaking movies.
Oh.
And so it's kind of it's going to be a pretty funny take on some of the movies, because like we're doing on a budget, and we're trying to convince Kristen that she's watching her movies, but she's not. So it's just going to be really cheesy. But anyways, Logan Wolf, one of our amazing performers, is going to be co-producing that. Actually, hopefully doing much of the production, because I'm planning like a huge show in July.
Wait, didn't you just say you don't want to do that?
Yeah, 1 month after the other.
Right. He said like, no, we're not doing Halloween and Christmas, but you're like, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, the finances, we share everything equally. So we split everything. We split the door evenly amongst everyone that performs.
Wow.
And that includes our host and our kittens. And then we split all tips evenly. So
Holy
that's
shit.
not, some troops do that, and some troops and drag shows, drag troops, that they will, I don't know if there are drag troops. There's drag families. But they sometimes they'll have a policy of taking their own tips.
Okay.
So everybody, the kittens will go, or the drag performers will collect their own money. And we decided that because of the structure of a show, you're going to have ups and downs.
Yeah.
And we don't want everybody to be like,
I wonder.
way up here.
Yeah.
We want to have people that'll make you cry as well. And sometimes people aren't, tipping as much if they've seen a low number. But we want to take our audience for a journey. And then like people, we have amazing performers, so people will empty their pockets out before the last performer. And we might have our like mainliner close the show or something. And if we were keeping all of our own tips, they wouldn't get as much, even though they might be like doing an amazing number to close a show off and send everybody home with wet underwear. It's just not fair.
Right.
To have those, and if somebody's like amazing and always closing every show, they're going to be one of the most underpaid people in the troupe.
Yeah.
And that's not an incentive, Also our openers. We want to like, people are coming in cold, and we want to hit them with a lot of energy, right? But if you took that very same performance and put it after the intermission or before the intermission, like the amount they get tipped will differ based upon where they are in the show. And so we think everybody brings strengths, and every performance is part of a one show thing. So we look at the tipping as like tipping on the show, as opposed to tipping individuals.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I mean, why is that important to you though? Because, I mean, you found it like a co-founder, so it had to have been important to you to kind of bake that into what Atlantic Burlesque is. You and your co-founder, like, what's important to you guys to make that decision?
I'm not sure how long we expected it to go on for.
Okay.
Looking back, I can't quite recall what our motivation was, if we were planning on one show or multiple shows. I can't recall. But I wanted to, create that space where people can explore their creativity. But since then, it's developed into so much more. We've bonded as a family, and we really support one another, and people really use the opportunity to have cathartic moments of healing and expression.
Right.
And we've had people in our last show is a great example. We had one of our performers saying goodbye to a partner that had passed away.
Wow.
So they did this whole performance and encapsulating that, but also during that process they were literally saying farewell.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a closing of a chapter for them. We had another performer that really highlighted what it is like to transition, and that the whole thing about feeling invisible before and then taking on more masculine traits, and how that changes how people deal with them, and how messed up that is in society, where they haven't changed as a person, but people treat them differently now based upon their physical attributes. And that was a really alarming. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Everybody was crying. It was so beautiful. So I think I put in all this work for those moments. I think it's such a beautiful thing where these people that I perform with put in so much thought and care into creating something for a brief moment in time to say this is me, look at this is what I want to share with the world. And then people in the audience identify with that, and it's a community healing process.
Wow.
Through art. And I think it's so special. So I do it because I want to create the space for that creativity
to happen. Okay, this is a great time to ask this question, and I love asking it because someone asked me and it blew my mind, and I'm like, okay, I'll ask my guests these questions when I'm rounding off the show. And it's what's something that happened to you before you were 17 that's responsible for who you are today? And be I'm gonna share all the money with all the people. And but yeah,
in terms of Atlantic Boylesque, it's something that brought me to this.
Yeah.
Because I'm not actually Oliver Twisted. This is what I do full time.
Right,
I have another
right.
life.
Right.
But how was Oliver Twisted born from something that happened before I was 17? I think that I'd have to say probably my parents splitting up. That was quite. I mean, that's a bit of a trope, but my parents split up when I was 9, and we were just kind of that kind of family that didn't really share much about our emotions, and so the healing process was very rocky.
Right.
And there was a lot of time spent alone, dealing. Everybody just in the family just had to deal with their own shit, because we were all just holding on, and we didn't want to dump on other members of the family because we're all dealing with our own stuff. And so I spent a lot of time alone in my room doing creative things. I got into a lot of artwork and sketching and painting and using different materials to create cool stuff and props. And I started getting into psychedelia and rock and Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and stuff like that. And so I was really getting into kind of weird artistic avenues. And so I think that kind of you can see that reflected in my art now.
I mean, this dude here. Wow, thanks for sharing that. I learned something, and I think it's a great, great way to end the show. So you get this, and you get this, and you write a number between 1 and 60. You do not show me, you just show it to the camera.
1 in 60.
1 and 60.
Okay.
And these cards are going to tell me what that number is, hopefully. Yeah.
You're a magician too, are you? Have you ever thought about shaking your clear?
Auditioning.
All right.
Okay. So I can say just show it to the camera. Got it? Okay, cool. So these cards here, your number can be in one or more of these cards. And we'll just go one at a time. So is your number in this one?
No.
Nope. Is it here?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move that to the side. Is it here?
No.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes.
And yes, holy shit. Okay, so do you wanna, let's see, is it here?
It is not there.
Is that the exit here?
It is not there.
Okay, finally. Yeah, you threw me a curveball.
It's not there.
So it's only in these three. Okay, let's shit. Fuck, okay. It's just in these three, right? 42.
The answer to life.
Yeah. Man, thank you so much.
The universe
for
and everything.
The amazing thing you and your troupe do. The next show is in a few weeks, yeah?
Next show is June 2nd.
Yeah.
And it's Be Kind and Grind. And then we have a show on July 27th. It's Planet Pride. And that's at the Marquee and Seahorse. It's the last Saturday of Pride Week. And then we're going to have a Halloween and Christmas show. But I have to say again, this is a women-led, developed art form.
Oh, okay.
And we owe everything to the performers that have established this art form in the past. For one reason or another. It has a lot to do with the shitty patriarchy. But out of that, struggle has been born this amazing art form, and we're celebrating that, or there's a group of people that are celebrating that, coming up with the first burlesque festival of the Atlantic provinces.
Holy shit, when is that?
It is on May 17th to the 19th. And it's being organized by an amazing group of people. And it's called the Atlantic Burlesque Festival.
Dope.
And
where's it on? So is it on like Instagram and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, I need to.
Atlantic Burlesque Festival on Instagram, and there's a website, atlanticburlesquefestival.com, and it's going to all be at Neptune Theater. We're flying. I keep on saying we, because I'm also on the board.
Right.
But I'm a lesser role. There's some amazing performers in the city that are doing that, producers. They're all amazing individuals. There's quite a lot of them. I think that we're up to about 10 board members at this point in time. But yeah, they're great people and working very hard. So I can't wait to see what they come up with. Yeah, and flying in performers from across Canada, it's going to be dope.
It is. It sounds dope already. Thank you so much, Oliver Twister, for coming and for sharing and everything you're doing, man.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.